put like a TV truck in there or anything like that. Anyway.
I think the spring training telecasts are like a fairly modern phenomenon. I don't think we had any of that, as I recall.
Not in the first few years.
Right.
Not in the first.
Are you going to? I haven't opened the notes, but you could share some opening day 1977 memories if you
could.
If you went to.
I could.
I always
got to tell you that. You know what? It's funny that it's like after opening day, it's a whole other thing. But leading up to and then the opening day, like, you know, most opening day home runs, most hits by an opening day player, most opening day hot dogs eaten, most drunks arrested on opening day. It's just sort of, it's like an outlier. It's like there's regular season and there's playoffs and there's opening day stats. Like, you know, they don't have that. It's not the same as in hockey. Okay, Austin Matthews on opening night scored 4 goals, but it's not the same. And in football, it doesn't matter. You know, the first game of the season, big deal. There's 16 games. So opening night just isn't, but with baseball, it's sort of the whole, you know, spring is here and let's introduce every player and every trainer and let's bring the Clydesdales out from Budweiser and all that. And they make a spectacle out of it. It is a big deal because it signifies the beginning of spring. And the other sports don't do that. It's not the same. Hey, okay, it's hockey season. It must be fall. Not the same. And by the way, this year, hockey season and basketball season end, like there used to be 3 or 4 weeks difference. And now they end at like the same time. Like there's 6 or 7 games left of the NBA or 8 games in the NBA schedule. And there's 6 games left in the NHL schedule.
It's true. They become, it used to be that NBA ended first, right? Like you were in the second round or something?
No, see, that's just it. I don't remember now. I think it was the other way around. I think the NBA, excuse me, the NBA always went into June. Always went into like June. And the NHL, not so much.
Okay.
Maybe not, because the NHL, like back in the day, the NHL was over with by June. It was done. And the NBA would, you know, it took longer. I just seem to remember the weather being warmer when the NBA, you know, when the parades were being held, I guess, the championship parades, it just seemed to me that it was a few weeks later. I'd have to go over it and see, but it just seems like everything's all so compressed now. It's like, you know, and imagine running a building that houses an NHL and an NBA team and, you know, trying to juggle a schedule where you don't know, are you playing at home? Are you playing on the road? Are you in the playoffs? What about the next round? Can you reserve that arena?
Right.
You know, how do they get around all that stuff?
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
Hebsy, you have a tweet to retweet.
Okay.
And I'm going to get it open on my second laptop. I'm so rich. I have 2 laptops. Although this
good for you.
This one's good, 10 years old, but that's okay. It's actually Michelle's old laptop.
Nice.
All right. Already we got Dale Cadeau and we got Jim Rogers and Moose Grumpy. Oh my goodness gracious.
The gang's all here.
They all want to hear your Tim and Friends hot takes.
Listen, it's really easy for me to just do a show. Why don't you just write in or, you know, type in what you want to hear. And and Mike, we'll just make sure.
Well, maybe
the same way, if we were doing a live talk show and this was the schedule, here's what we're going to talk about. Our guests are so-and-so. Right. We don't have any of that. We don't there's no rule that says, oh, you have to follow basketball with more basketball. I could jump from one to the other seamlessly. Right. There is no format. So if something comes up and you go, I think the rest of the listeners would like to hear my comment on this. Go ahead, man. Like, ask me.
Okay, because I do have a note.
Ask me.
Ask you everything.
And believe me, it's not like, you know, oh, you can't talk about that because we're going to bump this story.
Right.
No,
right.
No. And by the way, just because baseball games are now going to, on the average, 26 minutes shorter, does that mean the post-game shows are going to be 26 minutes longer? And that's why Tim McAuliffe is going to, it's like, Tim, we got 26 minutes to fill. The games aren't 3 hours long anymore. They're, you know, whatever. Does that mean that Rogers, you know, is going to say, let's just make the post-game shows longer. As long as we got all these people here and we show every baseball game and we have every clip, every at bat, we have everything to do with the Blue Jays. Let's just extend the pre and post-game shows so that we've got 8 hours of Blue Jays. Even though the game's only 2 hours and 32 minutes, the rest of it is like Super Bowl Sunday. Every Jays game, 5 hours before the game, start the talk. What's Gosman going to do? What's the pitch count going to be? What about the batting order? All that stuff. No?
Well, I thought that was more of I didn't know there was a question there, but I just before we go, Dr. Doc Stop watching Tim and Friends. I know. I was listening. Dr. Doc stopped listening because he found the other guy annoying. Whoever the friend was, I guess, I'm sure that's.
Well, there's different friends. No, there's always different friends. Like Ken Reed.
No, I never saw a minute of this show.
Kenny Reed is one of the friends.
Okay.
You see. Anyway.
Well, we'll save it. We're gonna go in like
how much time are we going to spend on my podcast? My podcast.
Hebsy on Sports.
About someone else's who used to have a podcast, and then they said, "No, we don't want a podcast, and we're going to make it a radio show." No, we're going to make it a television show. No, we're going to make it a simulcast. No, it's 2, 3, 4 shows in one.
Right.
You see, a show can't evolve the same way. It can't. You can't take too much on. It was a great podcast. When they went to radio, it was great. Oh, wrong time slot, Macau, and blah, 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 blah. Then they started fucking around with it. That was their problem. You leave something good alone. You let it blossom. To me, it's the same as the Brady and Andrew Walker combo. Why didn't they just leave it alone? Let it run its course. Let it do its thing. Okay, bounce it from here. That's the problem. Is that I liken it to this, Mike.
Yes, sir.
You're a chef or you're an artist or something like that, and you've created something that's great, but there's some little thing that's still bothering you. You've got to do something. You've got to make a tweak. You've got to make a change, right? We're like that. It's like there's a thread hanging from this beautiful suit that you have, and the only thing you can see is the thread. You can't see the beautiful suit. You got to get rid of that little thread that's hanging there. Well, that's what it's like with these guys, these programmers. We got a great show here. It's beautiful. How much time do we have? Well, I don't know. It's got to show some ratings in 6 months or we're going to make changes, or a year. We've given it a year. No. Creativity takes time. You have to nurture it. It has to run its course. You have to develop that chemistry or that whatever it is. But if something looks good and you've put it together and everyone's excited about it, you can't put a time limit on the thing. You can't be shifting it all over the place. That time slot, this time slot. And that's what happened with Tim and Sid. I knew both guys when they were interns at the Score when it was called Headline Sports.
But you're blowing your wad, Mr. Hebsy. We're going to.
No, I'm not blowing my wad. This is your red carpet show. You're not going to hear this shit on the podcast. I'm not going to waste my time on the podcast. Okay. There you go. That's your story right there. You got more questions? Ask me the questions.
Let me get there. Okay, buddy. You ready to rock?
I'm ready to rock. Let's go.
I was going to say, I can't hear you. Are you ready to rock? Okay, here we go.
I can't hear you. Are you ready to rock?
That's right. Hold on. I was ready, and then I had to. Okay, 3:27. Here we go, Hebsy. Hebsy on Sports for March 31st, 2023.
Good morning, sports fans. Welcome to Hebsy on Sports. This is episode 327. It's the day after the Blue Jays won their first of 95 regular season games en route to the ALCS. Wait, not the World Series, Hebsy? No, the ALCS. Come on, you're not going to get there in one fell swoop. It's going to be close. It's going to be a great season. Sit back and enjoy. Only 161 more games plus the playoffs. And many, many pre- and post-game shows, if you're watching the Jays. We'll go over their thrilling comeback win yesterday. Like I said, 94 more to go, and my prediction rings true. We'll see what's in store for the weekend and beyond for your Toronto Blue Jays. It's going to be a great season. This afternoon, Gab Fest, which was known as Tim and Sid, and then morphed into Tim and Friends, is no longer. Reports of his demise are not greatly exaggerated. They are absolutely true. The show will end April 11th. So you got a few weeks until the Jays home opener and the final show there, kind of like a farewell tour. A lot of tears will be shed. You know, it's like when Sid left a couple years ago and he announced in February that he was leaving in like May. And it was like everybody that came on the show, oh, Sid, we're going to miss you. We're going to have the same thing? Let's hope not. By the way, Tim, a good addition already to Sportsnet Central, especially since they're going to need a lot of time to fill that post-game show now that baseball games are going to be like an hour and a half. Other media news on the way as well. We'll talk about your usual dose of the Maple Leafs and the Raptors, who are they both have, I think, the same number of games left or whatever, and the playoffs start at the same time. It's basket hockey season. It's the postseason. The latest on Bianca Andreescu. Oh, my. I've never experienced so much pain in my life. She was heard screaming. Anyway, we'll talk about the all-time drama queen of tennis. Stick around as Toronto Mike will try to replicate that blood-curdling scream. Oh my God. That was scary. And I want to start with a pop quiz, Mike, if you don't mind.
Okay, hit me.
I'm going to give you the nickname of a sports venue, and you tell me the real name of that venue. Got it? Number one, the house that Ruth built.
Yankee Stadium.
Correct. The world's most famous arena.
I don't know. Chicago Stadium.
Madison Square Garden.
Oh, I should have known that. Come on.
You should have known that.
I didn't know that was a nickname.
And the easiest one of them all, the friendly confines.
Wrigley Field.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Not according
Park.
to Rogers
Fenway
Sportsnet. No, not according to Rogers Sportsnet. No. Hockey game the other night. Opening theme. Not credits. What am I saying? The opening to the show.
Right.
Okay. Leafs are at home. Leafs are at home at the Scotiabank Arena. Oh, it's not the Scotiabank Arena. Leafs are at home at the friendly confines. No.
You don't like that.
You can't use that.
Okay.
You can't, Mike. You can't use that. You can't use the same way you couldn't say, "Oh, here we are at the Rogers Center, the house that Bautista built." I mean, that's sort of okay because people understand that you're referring to the house that Ruth built, but you can't use it directly. You can't say the world's most famous arena when Madison Square Garden is the world's most famous arena, but you certainly can't call anything but Wrigley Field the friendly confines. You can't. You just can't do it.
See, people don't know this, Hebsy. They need to be educated.
No, but not people. Come on, these are the producers of the Maple Leaf games. I forget which one. Was it Monday night, Wednesday night? David Amber was the voice. So whoever the producer was of that show should never have been allowed, should never have used the friendly confines to describe the Scotiabank Arena.
All right, I'm taking a note here. Although I don't want to make any missteps, I'm just taking notes here. Do not.
You can't do that. You can't do that. You just can't. The friendly confines, Wrigley Field. That's it. You can't use it for anything else. It's like taking someone else's identity and saying, "Oh, I happen to be so-and-so." No, you're not. No, you're not him. We all know what he looks like. You can't take his identity.
Mike can't just say, "I'm Toronto Mike." No, I'm Toronto Mike.
No, the friendly confines have been around for years. It refers to only one place. Okay? Now, you could say to your friend, "Oh, come over to my place. They call it the friendly confines."
Sure.
But you can't do it with a ballpark or an arena that's already been named years ago, the friendly confines. Come up with something else for Scotiabank Arena. God damn it. That's it.
Okay, good point. How's it going, Hebsy? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Feeling fantastic here. Everything going well here at the Markham Studio, gateway to Stouffville. By the way, this studio, like just minutes ago, was being used for a very high profile meeting, very high up meeting. Okay. My girlfriend's business that she's in. So there was a lot going on down here just like minutes ago.
And it's only 9
I don't know.
a.m.
Is the smoke still here? Oh, it was an 8 a.m. meeting.
What?
Big time meeting.
That's a big
So
meeting.
the smoke hasn't even cleared back here. Okay.
Wow.
And it's like, I'm going to do a show pretty soon. And then it was like, all right, okay, it's available. Studio's available. Let's go down here.
He's closing like $1 billion deal. And you're like, it's time for Hebsy on Sports. Hebsy, I need to carve out 30 seconds off the top because on behalf of you, I want to offer my sincere condolences to Brian Gerstein, whose father passed away.
I'm sorry to hear that. He's a good man. And
97, I believe. Sounds like a good.
Kane O'Hara, 97 years old. 97.
Well done, Mr. Gerstein. And Brian does have a question for you later on when we do get to the Tim and Friends segment. Yes. I have a question for you.
Brian, may your father rest in peace and may his memory be a blessing. 97. A good man. I'm sure you went to many ball games with him too. That's great.
Expos, right? The Expos. They're Montreal.
Ouais, les Expos sont là, oui. Speaking of terrible stadiums, we're going to talk about lousy stadiums a little bit later on too. But that Olympic Stadium in Montreal was one of the worst, horrible stadiums. A lot of times it was like there was no sunshine there. It was all concrete. It was a horrible place. We're going to talk about crummy stadiums because Rogers Center was on the list, but hoping to move up because of the renovations that nobody's seen. That's what I'm excited about. Someone was saying the other day, what's the greatest stadium? The nicest stadium, whatever. To me, I'm looking forward to. I really am. I want to see what this place looks like. How can they improve it? Because to me, from the outside, there's nothing they can do. There's nothing about the entrance into the place that's going to make it more welcoming. So once you're inside, there better be a huge wow factor. The other thing is people like to walk around. It's kind of like it's like a ballpark, but it's also a museum. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like the
And then you went,
concourse.
oh, look at that. And there's a plaque of
There's
so-and-so.
Jamie
So
Campbell, and it's like,
go
okay.
settle over there. Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping that it's more, and fan friendly is kind of what do you mean by fan friendly? Like, there's more toilets and concessions and like well, it's the whole experience. And if the experience and when we go to Cleveland, we love walking around the concourse. Just start at home plate, walk all the way around. Along the way, you're going to get food. You're going to see interesting people. You can check out what's going on in the bullpens, like they're going to have at Rogers Center. You can actually see the pitchers warming up right there and lean over. It's great. So I'm looking forward to that as well. But for now, the team is on the road. And yesterday they're in the cradle of American baseball, the Midwest is Busch Stadium in St. Louis, a fabulous stadium. And St. Louis Cardinal fans are unlike fans of any other team. And here's why. Before everybody moved west, before the Dodgers and Giants went in the late 50s, and even after that, anyone from the Midwest and beyond west was a St. Louis Cardinals fan if they were a baseball fan, because all the Cardinal games were on radio, on the very powerful KMOX radio out of St. Louis. Clear channel, 50,000 watts. You can get it in like 38 states. And so St. Louis was the furthest west you could go. I mean, Chicago is a little further north and but St. Louis. So everybody from the Midwest and beyond was a Cardinals fan. All right. In like they had 80 stations on their network. You could get it anywhere. And this has been going on for since radio began. So 100 years of Cardinal fans, right? Versus, 45, 47 years of Blue Jay fans in Canada. We got other things to do. This was like a religion for the Cardinals. So you're starting your season in St. Louis, and the whole big thing, and that big, pregame ceremony, opening day 2023. Cardinals are a good team, right? And before any of it even starts, fucking Adam Wainwright jumps out of the freaking lineup and goes and sings the national anthem. Right. My mind is blown. To me, that's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to think. That would be like who's a veteran? Like, who's the longest serving Toronto athlete? Who would be the longest serving one here? I don't know.
Michael Bradley.
Yeah, no, I don't include them. I'm talking about Raptors, Leafs, Jays. Let's say this, for example. Let's just say Pascal Siakam came out. Like, we're about to start, ladies and gentlemen, Toronto Raptors, blah, 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 and now to sing our, and now he jumps out of the line and he goes to the mic and he starts to sing "Oh Canada," let's say, right? Like, people were just like, what the hell? What the fuck?
If right? Morgan Riley might be, and he's not
Morgan Riley. Let's just say so. So now, and he's singing along, and then he hits. He's not a professional singer, right? And you've heard this song a million times, but it's Morgan Riley. And now his voice cracks maybe or hits kind of a note, and you're like, ooh, I don't know. It's kind of cringeworthy. So as Adam Wainwright is singing the national anthem, I'm like, no. No. What it does is, does it devalue the national anthem, or is the national anthem already devalued to the point where it's like happy birthday? Like, he may as well have gone, happy birthday to you, hello birthday, St. Louis Cardinals fans. And, everybody knows the words, and it's kind of, we hear the song so often. That
I didn't think he did a bad job, Hebsy. And it reminded me, do you remember when Roy Lee Jackson would sing the national anthem?
But here's the difference. And I was at that game against Texas. Roy Lee Jackson had a beautiful voice and was I want to say a professional, but was a semi-professional singer.
Better singer.
He had sung. Oh, he was a singer in the choir. He had, in high school in Alabama. I mean, he had a beautiful voice. Was well known. But I mean, Adam Wainwright, fucking
I didn't think it was so bad, Hebsy. I didn't think.
Oh, come on, oh, Mike,
it had that country.
But Mike, you're used to listening to a professional. Like, the version of "Oh Canada" was beautiful. That violinist was fantastic, wonderful, creative. And then home.
What's his last season, right? Give him.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit. It was lousy. Okay, as a pitcher, he's a great. As a singer, no. I want to hear professional. He's a professional. Okay, or at the very least, let him. He wasn't pitching that day, right? Let him sing. Take me out to the ball game, or God Bless America, or whatever the fuck they do in the seventh inning in these some of these places. Like in Toronto, they do okay, Blue Jays. In these other places, they do. And now to honor America, right. God Bless America. Here's Adam Wainwright.
See, nobody cares. Hebsy, nobody cares. It's more interesting to hear a player sing it than who cares. This thing's been so devalued.
No,
it doesn't mean anything anymore.
It's not, Mike. Here's what it would be. It would be like the anthem singer coming out and being the starting pitcher. It would be exactly like that. Who gives a fuck? Throw out the opening pitch is one thing, but I got to sit there for a minute and a half and listen to you fucking butcher the national anthem? No, get out of here. It was shit. That's all I'm going to say. Thank God it was a good ball. Thank God it was a good ball game.
Okay, let's get to that ball game. I've been waiting how many months to hear Hebsy talk about a Blue Jay game that matters?
Well, you saw it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. We all knew they're a good team. Okay. Were you surprised with the fact that they scored 1 run in the seventh, 2 runs in the 8th, and 2 runs in the 9th? We all knew they could hit. We all knew they could. Were you surprised that Alek Manoah got bound? No, I'm not surprised because opening day is totally different. You got to wait around. The timing is different. Oh, we got to listen to Adam Wainwright sing the national anthem. I got to wait for this. Now, what did the Jays do in the first inning? It took them like half an hour. So he's got to sit even longer. So there's just something about opening day where everybody's timing is off, where it's odd. Go back a million. Opening days are just different from every other day. The games take longer, although yesterday there was a bunch of really short games. They're 8.5 inning games where the home team, shut out the opponent. But for the most part, it just takes longer. And now with the pitch clock, that's great, but it's still, 10-9. What the hell? Like nothing surprised me in that game. Everything happened in that. That game had everything. How many bloop hits? The Jays had 19 hits. 15 of them were bloop hits. They had 16 singles and 3 doubles. Manoah, it was all over the place. So was the other guy, Michaelis from St. Louis. They were all over the place. These guys, these are your starting pitch. These are the guys who a couple of days ago, the manager said, we're giving you the ball for the most important game of the day. Not the year, not the week. Okay. It's not the most important game. It's probably the least important game because you've got 161 games to recover from whatever happened or something else, right? It's your basic hope springs eternal. If we win on opening day, is that a sign? Is it like the robin finding the worm? Is it the harbinger? Fuck right off. It's one game. It's one game out of 162. Not even one game out of 16 where it's an NFL schedule. Oh, we're already behind the game. Well, or the NBA, which is just 82 games, or the NHL. No. One game, but it's opening day. So it was great. It was exciting. They won the one game. That's great. Now let's get to the rest of the season. Okay. We know Manoah's better than that. We know Springer's not going to get 5 hits every game, all of them bloops, right? He's not going to score 4 runs every game. We know that Bo Bichette, who, by the way, not a bad number 2 hitter, but his fielding all season long, Mike, here's what's going to happen. Ground ball to Bichette. Everybody's got their fingers crossed and he makes the play because every time there's a grounder now. We're going to go, oh, it's Bo. We don't do that with Chapman. We don't do that with Vladdy, who's spectacular, even better now. We don't do that with whoever's playing second base, Merrifield or Espinal or Biggio or I don't know, Garth Orge. Is he still playing? We don't, but we do it with Bichette. We're not going to do it with any outfielders anymore. It's not like, oh, it's a fly ball to Lourdes. What the hell's going to happen now? Oh, Teoscar, Jesus. No, we don't have to worry about that. We got good fielders now. But Bichette is going to be now. Will you give up a possible MVP season at the plate for some shaky defense at shortstop, Mike? That's the question. Can you put up with Bo not being a great fielding shortstop? Adequate? Is that enough if he hits like he does?
Yes.
Me too.
Sure. Yeah.
Me too. But you know that every day and every game is shown, the highlight. There's Bo. He takes a crow on. What's what to throw? What did I do wrong? Well, that's going to happen, especially a shortstop where you get so many ground balls over the course of a season. Right? That's okay. We can accept the fact. We can accept it. We had Tony Fernandez for years. We couldn't accept that. We expected Tony to be fantastic. He was a great fielder. Fielding doesn't usually slump. You don't go from being a great fielder to being a shitty fielder. You just don't, especially at the shortstop position. Maybe your range is limited as you get older. Maybe there's injuries. Essentially, if you're a good fielder, you stay a good fielder. And I can safely say, I think that Bo Bichette is not a good fielding shortstop. He needs to work on being an adequate fielding shortstop. And that's all there is to it. Anyway, he had 4 hits, man. And he kills the ball, man. He's solid there. And Vladdy in the 3 spot was awesome. He had 3 RBI. He came up in key situations with men in scoring position, and he delivered, especially in the 9th on a sac fly. I think it was an 0-2 or a 1-2 pitch. And it looked like when he swung at it, like, oh, he popped it up. But he's got so much power. Instead of trying to hit the ball out of the park, he said, let me just get the ball in the air deep enough to score the run from third. And he did that easily. And that was the go-ahead run in the 9th. Sac fly. Varsho, hey, 2 RBI. Looked pretty good out there in left field. Kirky, 2 RBI. Chapman, 3 hits. Kevin Kiermaier, Gold Glove center fielder, couple of hits. Solid defense. Jordan Romano, beauty save. 1, 2, 3 in the 9th. Bob's your uncle. Couple of punchies. Love it. Love it. Imagine if the Jays get some solid starting pitching. You got the makings of a juggernaut this year. And you got a balanced schedule this year too, Mike. You don't have to play the Yankees and the Red Sox 19 times. You only have to play them 13 times this year. Only 13 times. You're going to play every team in the majors, at least one series. Every team. You see them all? What we got? We're going to get the Dodgers. We're going to get the Angels. We got the Cardinals this week. The Royals. Everybody. It's going to be so exciting when the Miami Marlins come to town, don't you think? The Atlanta Braves come to the Mets. I hate the Mets. I hate the Mets more than the Yankees.
Really?
They're just the whole organization. Just, I can't stand them. Really can't stand them at all. I didn't think I had hated them as much as I do. I think it might go back even more years before that. Something about the Mets, their attitude. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's the guys on the broadcast, like the Keith Hernandez.
Oh, he's a good mover, though.
Keith Hernandez. He won't even discuss Philadelphia, so I don't recognize them. Stuff like that. He's got a hate on for anything Philadelphia. And I could see that being from New York. So yeah, here's the Blue Jays deal. Great job by Ross Atkins. You put a good team on the field. Probably the biggest concern I would have would be John Schneider, only because of his inexperience at the major league level. But having said that, he's got a hell of a team and he's got some pretty good guys around him. Good guys surrounding him. Obviously the third base coach he inherited from Charlie Montoyo, Louis Rivera, who puts the stop sign up, and Bo Bichette's going, "Fuck you, I'm going home." Right?
Yes.
Because Bo in his mind is kind of going, I'm a pretty good base runner. And by the way, the Jays made 0 base running mistakes yesterday. And on one play, and no throwing mistakes. They didn't throw to the wrong base. And there was one play where Varsho, I'm trying to think what the situation was. It was a base hit with a runner at first. The guy goes first to third. Varsho could have maybe gotten the guy running first to third from left field. But instead, he hesitated, and then he threw to second to keep the double play in order. And Buck Martinez went, "Oh, my, what a great play." He called it a great play by Varsho. And I'm thinking, great play. Any good outfielder, oh, that's right. Lourdes would have for sure tried to throw the guy out at third. Ramel Tapia for sure would have tried to throw the guy out at third. If it was Teoscar, he for sure would have tried to throw the guy out at third. And Varsho for a split second thought, and then went, "No, got to keep the double play in order." And Buck was just going goo-goo over that. Oh, what a great play. Because we're not used to seeing that. We're like, don't throw to third. Don't go for that big play to get him at third base, right? Be smart. Keep the double play in order, right? That kind of thing. So that was beautiful. But just the way he said that, it was almost like he was saying, there's no way that Lourdes or Tapia or Teoscar would have made the right move and thrown it to second. Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. I just want to chime in to say that I walked through each position. Like I had Keegan Matheson here last week, and we just walked this week.
How was I haven't heard that show yet, but
I think you'll enjoy it.
Like we broke down
he broke down everything. So we went through position by position, and basically, in a nutshell, other than DH, where we're kind of like average, I suppose, at DH according to Keegan Matheson, at every other position, he's got the Jays top shelf. I'm telling you. Why bother playing this season? This is a 99-win team, okay? This is 1985's Blue Jays.
Yeah, I don't know about that. 1985's Blue Jays also made some acquisitions during the season, which bolstered the team. Tom Henke wasn't on the team to start the season. Al Oliver wasn't on the team to start the season.
That's right.
I think Jeff Burrows was there. There were some other guys. They had to those 85 Jays. There were 2 players on the team that they had to keep on the 25-man roster: Lou Thornton and Manny Lee. Or else they would have lost them to the original teams they drafted. So they were really playing with a 23-man roster back in 85. They really were. They really didn't utilize Manny Lee nor Lou Thornton that year. They had to keep them. So that was the makings of some team. You had Bill Caudill was supposed to be a big star on that team, and he failed. And Henke came along mid-season. So there was a lot that went on. So let's just enjoy the season, okay? And I don't have to tell you about 162-game season. We've gone through this before, blah, blah, it's early. But enjoy each game on its own, because the next day there's another game. So the beauty of this is that you're not going to go back to, that game 2 days ago in the 7th inning. No, we've been through it.
Right.
This is what happens with baseball. You go over, you do the postmortem, should have done that, didn't do that, didn't do that. And then you say to yourself, okay, it's baseball. You're going to lose 65 games, 70 games, whatever number. Right. You have to be prepared that you are going to lose games in every possible way. You're going to blow leads. You're going to come back and tie it and lose an extra innings. There's a million things are going to happen, but you are going to lose. Your team is going to lose. They're going to lose lots of games,
60-something games. Absolutely.
Be prepared for it. So you're going on a journey. So along the way, you're going to get a flat tire. You're going to have to go. You're going to have to pee. You're going to go to the bathroom somewhere. You're going to have to eat in some crummy place where you really don't want. You're going to have to go through these adversities. It's going to happen. And anyone who thinks that it's not is out of their minds. You're dreaming in Technicolor. Oh, it's going to be a smooth drive all the way to California. No issues at all. No. Come on.
Right, of course. It's baseball.
Right? It's going to happen.
It's going to break your heart, of course.
But here's the thing is, you should never fear with this team that they can't come back. Never. You're going to look at this lineup and go, any pitcher's going to go, oh, geez, look who's coming up now. Right. And it doesn't really matter. There aren't the weak spots, the gaps in the lineup that there have been over previous years. And I'm not saying that the whole lineups could hit 300. But I mean, last year in baseball, I think the average for the league was like 230 or 240 something. It was one of the worst years for hitting. It was all about pitching and strikeouts, either strikeouts or home runs. And now you've added some dimensions to the game that I'm excited about. Base running. Their base running yesterday was like, you're going, oh, that's right. Varsho knows how to run the bases. Kiermaier knows how to run the bases, right? Springer, these guys know what it's like to get the jump off the bat, that kind of thing. Some of the other guys didn't. Even Vladdy took a chance yesterday and he was successful, whereas last year or the year before on the bases, he might not have been successful. He might not have, but he's a more complete ball player now. And the only way you do that is you learn from your mistakes. So I don't see any weaknesses on this team. Are there other teams that have better starting pitching or better? Maybe, but we're talking about a team that hasn't even played one game. What happens later in the season when Ryu comes back from Tommy John and Chad Green comes back from Tommy John? What happens when you add those guys to the roster? What if, God forbid, Nate Pearson dominates in AAA and now here's another live arm for your bullpen? So that if Jordan Romano runs into a few problems, you got a Nate Pearson maybe if you need him, throw 102. Or you got Swanson, who looked pretty good. He can throw. These guys can all throw. And even though Yimi Garcia had some problems yesterday and coughed up a lead, it doesn't matter. You've got some live arms in that bullpen, right? You got some potential. You got some good starting pitching, okay? You got Gosman going this weekend. You got Bassett going this weekend. Maybe Barrios comes back with a good season. You got Kikuchi, who was awesome in spring training. Maybe he, can settle down. It's very exciting. Very, very exciting. Good for Ross Atkins. Let's go see if the Jays can execute and perform at the highest level, because they've now added professionals who know how to go about their business and keep their eyes on the prize. There you go.
Well said, Hebsy. Well said.
Who did you watch the ninth inning of last night's game with, by the way?
So I watched the ninth inning of last night's season opener for the Toronto Blue Jays with a guy named Paul Beeston. You heard of this guy, Paul Beeston?
Yeah. So how did it happen? How did you?
I was at. Did
he have a visor on, and was he smoking a cigar?
No cigar, not allowed to at the Crooked Q. But he had his Blue Jay cap on. And
Crooked Q on Bloor Street?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Really? That's upstairs there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Spot. Why didn't you call me? I would have come for that. I would have.
That's
a great spot.
I was invited to Steve Buffery's retirement party.
Oh, I never got an invitation to that.
I don't know how I'm getting an invitation to it and not you, but
I don't know. The Bees are one of my favorites. All right. Okay.
I'm sorry you
weren't
invited.
Good party? I don't care.
Well, a lot of interesting people, but anyways, Paul Beeston and I watched the ninth inning, which I thought was a fun fact. I've never met Paul Beeston before.
Nice.
You've had many a cigar with
you enjoy his company?
Yeah, he was actually a very nice man, and it was a great chat.
He is. When I first started in radio, he gave me a real a dressing down once in the just outside the Blue Jays press box. It was a night. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. They were playing terrible in the first couple seasons, and there was maybe a few hundred people in the stands, and I was in the press box actually counting, like with my fingers, like counting people so that on my radio show, I would say there were, 138 people left in the night. And he was pissed. He thought I was embarrassing the ball club and that kind of thing. And I'm working for the station that has the radio rights, right? And he was like, and I was young. I was 20, 21 years old, right? Wet behind the ears. And he pulled me aside and he says, don't you ever do that again. Right? This is a professional ball club. You're supposed to be a professional. There's no reason to go about, making fun of, this team and, and the fans and counting how many people are there. Not good for you to have a laugh or something like that. And, it was like, okay. And from that point on, like, there was I guess a respect and, right. I didn't do anything to, cause him to, come after me again, or I don't think. But it was an interesting little thing with Paul. And since then, no problems at all. Good guy. Played golf with him, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
So anyway, Blue Jays, after their Big 10-9 win, get a day off in St. Lou, but it's back at it tomorrow and Sunday. Gosman tomorrow, Bassett Sunday. And by the way, the Adam Wainwright singing of the national anthem, the Roy Lee Jackson one, he was so good. I remember it was so good. And it was like, at the time, the national anthems weren't sung before every game. They were played, but there wasn't a singer before every game, right? It wasn't now to sing the national anthem. For special occasions, there was, but they just played a recording of it. Do you remember this, Mike? Because you can't tell me who the anthem singer was for Blue Jay games, can you?
Well, we didn't have a go-to anthem singer.
Right, that's right. We didn't. Here's what we had to go to: the organist.
Right.
We had a go-to organist. We had Ralph Fraser, right? That was the organist. The same thing at Leaf games. It was a recording, or it was the organ. You didn't always parade somebody out to sing the national anthem. No,
you're right. You're right. You jogged a memory there. Absolutely, you're right.
Every team was like that. Okay, Yankees didn't have now to sing the national anthem. Fuck off. For a big game, sure, but come on, we play it every game, every single game. We hear this every single game. It's this, right? I think in the Yankee Stadium, they played a rendition by Robert Merrill of the Metropolitan Opera Company or something. There was a recording they would play, a particular recording that was just a fabulous one. I think after Roger Doucette died in Montreal, they played a recording of Roger Doucette up on the big screen singing, "O Canada" in English and French. Fantastic. But I don't, there wasn't always an anthem singer that came out before every game. And now there is, and starting pitchers are doing it. And next you're going to have everybody. Okay, now the shortstop will be singing his version of the national anthem. I remember when, for the World Series or something like that, they would trot out like a big star, for the national anthem, and still do, like the biggest of the big stars for the World Series. Right. But they never had it during regular games. I remember one year in Detroit, they had Jose Feliciano, the blind Mexican folk singer, come out there, and like they sat him at second base, and he did a version of the Star Spangled Banner that no one, like he was like, "Oh, say," people were like, what's this? And then pretty soon you've got, country star Glenn Campbell, who's going to now Robert Goulet. Robert Goulet sang the national anthem before the Sonny Liston Cassius Clay fight, and he fucked up the words. He didn't. He screwed up the words. Said, come on. Like, how do you do that? So that started this, and then Roseanne Barr did it, and Frank Carl Lewis, and it just became like, okay, who wants to do it? Anybody want to do the national anthem? So stop it already. Okay. Bunch of games yesterday, less than 2.5 hours. Beautiful. And there were a few like the Jays game that went over 3 hours. Generally, opening day is an outlier when it comes to time of game. But you can see, for the most part, that everybody loves the pitch clock, loves the pace of play. Maybe not Marcus Stroman, who was the first pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball to, be charged with a ball because of a time clock violation. Woohoo, trivia, Marcus Stroman. That's great. What does it do though for companies like Rogers? Mike, think about this. You've got a window. Your program, it used to be for, if it's a network game and you've got to get to the news at 11 o'clock, that's one thing. But on Sportsnet, they're not going to get out of the post-game show because they've got this, unless it's another live event, right? So now if the games are going to be a half hour short, shorter or 20 minutes shorter, that means that Rogers is going to go, wait a second now. What about that window, that 4 hours or 5 hours or whatever we've budgeted for pre and post and the game itself? We're going to have to extend the post game show, right? Like, we're going to have to come up with a reason now to make it a longer post game. We got more time to fill. Right. Because the advertisers who were thinking, oh, we're going to get our spots in between the 7th and 8th inning, it's like, well, not so fast anymore. We're going to stick you on the end of the show. We're going to put you in the post-game show.
But I have a question.
So we can sell more
breaks,
advertising.
Right? Like,
no. We can sell more. Mike, you can sell more. Think about this. You can sell more advertising in your block, in your 3-hour block. Instead of that 3-hour block being 18 half-inning breaks, right? That 3-hour block now has your 18 half-inning breaks plus more time. 27, 26 more minutes of a post-game show where you can take a break whenever you want to. So you sell it as the whole package, right? In this 3-hour time slot, you're going to get this many spots. Now, they may not all be during the game because the game is now shorter. It'll be in the post-game show with Tim McAuliffe and Ken Reed and Joe Siddle and Jamie Campbell and Hazel May and Ben Nicholson-Smith and Shai Davidi and Keegan Matheson. And no, he's Major League MLB. And who am I missing? Arden Zwelling. And I'm missing who else? Oh, and Buck and Dan. We got everybody for the post-game show. We're going to give you highlights from other games. You're not even going to know that you're watching Sportsnet Central. It's going to be seamless. The post-game show will just morph into Sportsnet Central, which morphs into your next game, and you'll be watching us for the full time. So they're going to make more money because the actual time of game is shorter. Not fewer breaks, just shorter in that window. Now you can sell a 4-hour window if you're Rogers. Pre-game show starts here. First pitch is here. Game ends here. Post-game show goes to there. There you go. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So Tim and Friends, which previously was called Tim and Sid, will end its run on April 11th, which is opening day at the newly renovated Rogers Center. Tim already part of, like, they just went, okay, and we got Jay starting. Why don't we just do this with Tim? Why don't we say, look, the show's over on April 11th. Tim, you're still under contract, and we love what you do. Let's just slide you into a role on a desk. You're still sitting at a desk. You're at a desk. You're still doing the same thing. You're commenting. You're doing highlights. You're whatever. It's just not Tim and Friends. Okay. So good on him for that. Longer postgame show is good. If you're a baseball fan, it's like, I can't get enough. And by the way, how long before John Schneider meets the media? And can I hear from, when you add all the clips and the time that it takes during the postgame show to just, get the clips and say, okay, let's go to John Schneider. He's at the podium right now. And, beautiful. It's more program. It's great. Let's take a break. We'll sell some commercials, and we'll be back with an interview with so-and-so. And then Joe Siddle's final thoughts and Jamie's final thoughts and Dan's final thoughts and Buck's final thoughts. And then we'll get Hazel's final thoughts. We'll get Ben and Arden and Shai's final thoughts. And we'll just do nothing but baseball. Nothing but until it's time for hockey.
Why Noah Rash?
Because remember, they got play. Remember,
they got playoffs.
They got the Stanley Cup, baby.
Right.
So how's that going to work?
Why Noah Rash?
Sportsnet 1, Sportsnet Now, Sportsnet 3, Sportsnet 8.
Right.
Okay. Hockey here, more hockey there, and baseball over there.
Well, Leaf playoff games will be on CBC, so I know where to find them. But why Noah Rash-Madani on the Sportsnet telecast? Do you know?
I know why not Arash.
Arash was part of the Sportsnet Blue Jay broadcasts, and
yes, he was,
but not this year.
Well, a few years ago, Barry Davis was part of the Sportsnet Blue Jay broadcasts, wasn't he?
True. That is true. Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't know reasons why people are, replaced or whatever. It's tough business,
But when Barry was let go, Rash is still with Sportsnet. He's just.
Well, I don't know what his contractual situation is, and plus, Rash does other sports as well.
Yeah, lots of sports.
Lots. He was covering the World Baseball Classic instead of spring training. Who knows this stuff? He's got some pretty
great. I hear he's a hell of a tennis player, Rash. He's a really good tennis player.
Well, I would like to take him on. Let's see how he is at pickleball. Let's just see. There were a bunch of games, like I said, less than 2.5 hours yesterday. So the pitch clock, beautiful, all good. Everything about the broadcasts I enjoyed. As long as they don't call the Scotiabank Arena the friendly confines on Rogers ever again, then I'm okay with that. Just please don't that bothered me. I'm weird that way, though. I mean, just like, come on, like, have an original thought. I mean, this is a pre-recorded opening to a Leaf hockey game at Scotiabank Arena. Have an original thought. Oh, let's call it to the friendly confine. No, you can't.
It's taken. Hebsy, before we move on to NBA action, though, I need to ask you a question on behalf of Brian Gerstein, who he read a Howard Berger piece that said Bobcat would come back to 590 if they made him an offer or whatever. And of course, Rogers doesn't sound like they're interested at all in this. But I'm curious if you think Bobcat returns to 590 now that Tim and friends are gone.
I don't think anybody goes on radio ever again. I think it's dying. Okay, you can see they're not even sending Ben Wagner on the road. There's 2 teams in all of Major League Baseball that don't send their radio announcers on the road: California Angels and the Toronto Blue Jays. Like, why? Like, that to me is just cheap. And so if you listen to the people that they have on the air, for the most part, they cheaped out. They don't have, their morning show or 2 people no one had ever heard of before. The other guy is, not a high profile guy. The McCowan, Shannon, all that is Brunt and all that. The good old days is forget about it. They've basically conceded to TSN in the afternoon and Overdrive. And this talk of, how are they going to tinker with their radio lineup, to me is a joke, because people aren't listening. They're not listening to sports radio the way they were, and they're not listening to the Fan because, like, as I've told you before, it wasn't that many years ago, the Fan had a solid lineup. And now it's all over the place, man. I don't even know who's on anymore. I mean, think about this. They had McCowan. They had Tim and Sid leading into McCowan. They had Brady and Walker. They have, it's not worth it to them. You can tell Rogers is not going, okay, what are we going to do about radio? Come on over here. And also with radio, what they've done is they've taken a lot of the big positions in radio and just sort of consolidated them. You're now the assistant program director, the assistant program, the assistant, and you're the general manager, and you're running 6 stations from here over there. You're programming those stations there and this station over here. And okay, do you know Julie Adam? Yes, no, she was on the other side of Rogers. That's all it is. It's like, what do you want to do? So to me, the people that are running, I don't even know if they know anything about sports, or even if they have an idea, a vision of what sports radio should be, because they're late to the dance when it comes to the podcast part of it. I mean, if you really wanted to do it, it would be the podcast, like the Kipper, Nick Kiprios and Justin Bourne have a great show. I don't listen to it in the afternoons on 590. I listen to the podcast. It's great, really good. But they should have been cultivating this a long time ago. Podcast listeners have found other things, their favorite shows. They'll get the information earlier. You got to get those, but to get them to tune in at a certain time on the radio? No, not anymore. What is this, 1983?
But Overdrive does it, right? Like, I know people who tune into Overdrive, like on the radio.
On the radio?
Yeah.
Or on TV? They got it on in the background when they're at home.
I don't know. I have to get back.
Because I never listen to it on the radio. I listen to it. I've got the TV on. It's on from 4 to 7. Right? I'm not in the car. I'm at home. If I was in the car, I probably would, but I'm not in the car between 4 and 7 for the most part. Anyway, we'll see. But remember too, I mean, even with radio, it's like, I mean, the Fan or TSN 1050 is like, what's on tonight? Raptors on? Leafs? What do we got? Who's on? Who's doing the game? Is it Eric Smith? Paul Jones? Who is it? Taddy? No. That's radio. No. Free game. Chuck Swirsky. He's not with us. Jack Armstrong. Is it Leo? Is it Jack? Jack or Leo? Is it the girl? Is it Savannah or is it Kayla Gray? Is it no consistency? Where's the game? Who's doing it? At least when they do the NBA games, it's the same people, right? The panel, it's pretty much. But with hockey, it's like, oh, who's it today? Fucking drive me crazy. Raptors, by the way, very alive, very much alive. When it comes to the NBA playoff picture, they're at 500 for the first time in over 3 months. Might end up propelling themselves into 8th place, maybe 7th by the time all is said and done. They're in Philadelphia tonight. That's always a good battle with the Sixers. And after that, listen to this road trip to finish the season. They play twice in Charlotte. So they go to Charlotte for Sunday. Then they get a day off. I don't know, maybe they go to Pinehurst, play a little golf on the Monday, come back on Tuesday, play Charlotte again. Then as soon as the Charlotte game's over, it's up to Boston. And they play in Boston twice. They play Wednesday in Boston, next Wednesday, and then next Friday in Boston. Okay? So they get a day off in between. So what do you do on the Thursday? Are the Red Sox at home? What do we do? Go for a little skull on the Charles River? I don't know. And then the Raptors come home for Easter Sunday and finish the regular season against Milwaukee. Meanwhile, the Atlanta Hawks, the team that are tied with them for 8th place, are at the Nets tonight, then are home to the Mavericks, on the road to Chicago, home to Washington, home to the Sixers, and they finish in Boston on Easter Sunday. So we got to beat those guys out. The play-ins begin 2 days later. The Raptors are hoping for that 7-8 game against Miami. They might even host that game if they can win, 3. If they can win 4 out of 6, I think they'll host that game. That'd be great. They can start tonight in Philadelphia. Gary Trent Jr. is a game time decision, or GTD, as they like to say. As is guard Will Barton. He was the guy I couldn't think of his name last week or a couple weeks ago. Who is that guy? And I was thinking of Rafer Alston for some stupid reason, but I could not, what's his name? And he's a terrible player, but he's kind of like, I don't know, the best of a bad bunch of backups. And that bench is what, I don't know, it's what's probably the biggest concern for the Raptors. They're playing some pretty good basketball. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Of note, the Sixers are a lock for the 3 seed in the East, and they have an outside chance to make the number 2 seed if Boston falters.
Hey.
There's a question about Alvin Williams from our YouTube listeners. What was the question?
Look at this great communication we have today. There's a question, your live YouTube channel. And for those listening to the podcast, we're live on Hebsy's YouTube channel every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. What do you think of Alvin Williams? On YouTube, there's some chatter that they're missing Leo, and Alvin is not very good. And I'm curious, what's your take on Alvin Williams?
You know what my take is. I've said this many times before. You know. We've done the show.
Remind me.
Go back to episode 217, episode 232. My attitude is that Alvin Williams is lousy, and the only reason he's in there is because he's part of the Raptors organization, I guess, right? He played for them. He was a director of player development, whatever his titles were. He's an in-house guy. He's not critical. Leo could be critical. Jack Armstrong could be critical. But Alvin Williams is just very go with the flow. But he's not a wordsmith. He's not particularly articulate. He doesn't give me any insight the way Leo would give me insight, the way Jack, even though Jack is get that garbage out of here, he's become a little too much of that, a little too affected. I think he's great, but it's sort of, he gets this thing in his head. I think they expect me to say, get that garbage out of here. And it's just become,
like a cartoon or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Affected. He's just too affected that way. Like he's sort of he's
you become a
characterization of himself, of his own self.
It's like a caricature.
It would be like me walking around going, yes, guy, or Jim going, yes, guy, yes, guy, yes, guy, yes, yes, guy, yes, guy, yes, guy, yes, guy.
He does lean in on that one.
He's got it patented.
I know. That's why he's got so much money. He sends me invoices.
All right, let's go to hockey now. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are starting to make some noise, and that's bad news for Maple Leaf Nation. After dropping 4 straight for the first time in over a decade, the Bolts have bounced back with 2 straight impressive wins, including last night's 5-1 skewering of the Washington Capitals. The Capitals will not make the playoffs this year. Darn it. Means we won't get to see Ovechkin. Darn.
Did he ever break his leg? We wished it on him.
As well, right? Oh, yeah. And he's how many goals away from Gretzky's record? Okay, comrade. Thanks. By the way, thanks. Unbelievable. Tampa coach John Cooper, to me, is the smartest coach in the league. It's sort of like, listen, we're going to busting our balls here in game 67, game 68 of the season. We want to be ready for the playoffs. We've been there before. So they look like shit. And then he knows that when they come out of it, just in time for the playoffs, looking pretty good. The Bolts come to Toronto, by the way, the same night that the Blue Jays have their home opener against the Tigers. That's April the 11th. So you get to see a preview of the playoff series, right? Because all right, it's 2 games. 2 games before the playoffs. It's the second last game of the season. So it's like, we'll see you in a couple of days in the playoffs. So it should be, I'm hoping, would be a really good preview there. Tampa, Toronto, and the Leafs should have the home ice advantage. But on the same night, the Blue Jays have their home opener against the Tigers. The idea to me would have been, this is great. I'm going to go to Toronto. I'm going to see the Jays Tigers in the home opener at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then I'm going to go stagger down the street, and I'm going to see the Leafs play the Bolts. But no, Mike, both games are 7 o'clock starts. 7 o'clock. You know what it's going to be like down there? I mean, nuts.
That's why you got to be nuts.
It's going to be 60, 70,000 people on a Tuesday.
Right.
Rush hour. Crazy. How often? Here's the question: how early do you get down there? 7:00 start. 7:07 for the baseball game. Probably around the same for the hockey game. What time do you get down?
Well, you got to get there for 6.
If you're watching on television, what are you watching? You watching the home opener? Or are you watching Leafs Bolts? It's not a playoff game.
No, I'm watching the Jays. I'm actually not watching much Leafs until playoff time because I find it boring. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just
all right. So if you had tickets for both games, you only go to one. Which one would you go to?
Great question. Great question. I'm noodling it quickly in my mind. It's not a playoff game for either team. I'm kind of feeling. You know what? I think I'm going to the home opener. Yes.
Okay. What if it was a playoff game? Leafs Tampa game 1, home opener for the Jays.
Leafs Tampa.
Tickets. Who's looking for tickets? Tickets. Who wants tickets? You want Jays tickets?
To me, the Leafs playoff game trumps a regular season Jays game, but a season opener for the home opener, for the Jays trumps a regular season Leafs game. Which
game is more likely to see a drunk person jump onto the playing surface?
Oh, that's Jays for sure.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
You never know. Maybe Leafs are in Ottawa tomorrow night. The Sens are barely alive, but they are alive in the wild card race, and people are really excited about the Senators team. And why not, eh? With all the shit they've gone through over the years, I'm sure Ryan Reynolds is like, pretty good team. Ottawa still trails Pittsburgh by 5 points for the final wild card spot there in the East. They got to jump over Florida as well to grab that spot. But stranger things have happened. I think it would be fabulous. I would really, I kind of have a soft spot for Ottawa simply because the fucking franchise is in the middle of nowhere. The arena is way the fuck out in Yachopetsville, past Yachopetsville.
Yeah, Kanata.
6, way out there. Nobody in their right mind is going to from the East is going to drive all the way out there for a midweek game, especially the way the team's been playing over the last number of years and all the questions surrounding ownership and stuff like that. But now it's like exciting, man. And and maybe they're going to build on this LeBreton Flats, which is, the government has owns some of it, and brand new stadium near the downtown and revitalizing the Senators. And
it's got to be downtown. It's got to be downtown. I know Ottawa pretty well because I used to spend some time there. In my first marriage, my in-laws lived there. And I will say it's in an awful place, totally car dependent. And downtown is such a cool, walkable city, Ottawa. Stick it there. It'll be bananas. It'll be amazing.
Excuse me.
But why do you have a soft spot for Ottawa? I never had any soft spot.
I spent a lot of time in Ottawa when I did radio in Ottawa. When Ottawa, you think about this, when the Senators first, excuse me, when the Senators first began.
Yeah.
So 92, 93, the station in Ottawa switched to an all sports station, OSR, Ottawa Sports Radio. Okay. Excuse me. And so I was working for Headline Sports at the time. And they said, we would love to have you on the afternoon show, the afternoon all sports station with John Rodenberg, JR. And we think you guys would be great together. And you can do the shows out of a remote studio in Toronto. And you can come to Ottawa a couple of days a week,
wow,
right? And do the shows like in the studios here. So I took this gig. And for about 6 months, I would travel back and forth to Ottawa every week on Thursday. I think I would go Thursday. So I would do the Thursday afternoon show there, stay over Thursday night, do the Friday show as well there. And then right after the show, Friday around 7 or 8 o'clock, I would go to the airport and then fly home. So I did that every week for like 6 months. And so I became a fan of the, the Senators. Yashin was playing for them at the time, and Daniel Alfredson, and they're a pretty good team. And, I like the organization. Some super nice people in the Ottawa media. I met some, made some good friends there, and I've always, hoped that they're successful. Mm-hmm. Not at the expense of the Maple Leafs, of course, but still you want to see them do well, right? More so than other Canadian teams. Like, I don't care what happens in Winnipeg or Calgary or Edmonton or Vancouver, right. A little bit in Montreal. I don't know what happened here, Mike, but I got to get some water.
If you want to get a drink of water, I'll just let people know. I got a question on the YouTube channel of what jersey am I wearing? And this is number 11, George Bell. And that's because Hebsy once got this.
Hi, I'm George Bell. You listen to Toronto Mike.
Hebsy once secured that fine audio.
Good job there, filling in for me while I don't know what happened here. So I'm watching TV the other night. I think I know why the TSN hockey panel is so much better than any of the other panels that they have on Sportsnet. because it's always a different panel on Sportsnet, right? Number one is consistency. It's the same familiar faces on the TSN panel. I've mentioned this before. No surprises there. The other thing I've noticed is on the TSN panel, how do I say this? They talk to each other, right? And the camera picks it up. The director picks up. So it's a conversation. So it's like you're listening in on a conversation. Like James Duthie doesn't turn to the camera when he's talking to Jeff O'Neill. He's talking to Jeff O'Neill's face, and the camera, picks up that part of that conversation, either on a wide shot or a reaction shot from maybe Duthie's, nodding at what O'Neill's saying, or a two shot, whatever it is. But on Sportsnet, and this is the reason I can't watch Jennifer Botterill, is she never looks you in the eye, right? Because every one of them, when they know they're on a close-up, okay, that's me, this is my camera. I'm looking at the camera and I'm talking to the fans, right? But I can't be looking at the camera talking to the fans and I'm talking to you and I'm talking to you, I'm talking to you. No, that's because you never make eye contact with me for more than half a second. And there's something, what's the word I'm thinking of? It makes it untrustworthy. Like, look me in the eye and tell me that the reason Austin Matthews is so successful is blah, blah, blah. But don't be talking to me and then talking to him and then talking to me and talking to her. And if you look at it, she looks here, then looks there, then looks here, then looks there, and talks like this, and never for a second is, right? And on TSN, whoever the panelist is, Dave Poulin or Cheryl Pounder or O'Neill or Drager, when it's time for them to talk to the camera, they look at the camera and they talk to the camera. That's the viewer. I'm telling you right now, here's what's going to happen with the Maple Leafs in the draft. Da, 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 da. He's not going, here's what's going to happen now. Da, 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 da. No, because that's your camera there. If it's a wide shot, that's okay. You don't have to look into a particular camera. So that's my problem with Sportsnet is a lot of times, especially I've noticed with Jennifer Botterill, I'm not comfortable with what she's saying because she's not looking at me. She's not talking to me. And the way they direct that show, the camera angle should be such that she shouldn't have to look at her own camera. Just pick her up, that way she can talk to whoever has asked her the question. She doesn't have to look. When you're at a party and you're talking to someone, do you talk to that person, then talk to this person, then go over here, then go over there, then look back, not ever make eye contact with anyone? No.
Okay, I never thought of this, Hebsy. Interesting
Yeah.
investment there. Really interesting.
That's just, the way it is. Go watch the TSN panel and take a look.
So
they're not looking back and forth. Dave Poulin doesn't go back and forth. He doesn't go like this. He doesn't go, well, James, no. Well, O'Neill, well, he doesn't do that. Watch the TNT panel, right? I mean, they may do it briefly to acknowledge the other person's there, but for the most part, they're focused on the viewer or the person that they're talking to one-on-one. And the camera, the director will pick that up. He'll say, camera 2, truck over a little bit to the left and give me a little over the shoulder shot of Kenny Smith talking to Shaq and his reaction. Now let's cut to a wide shot of the panel because over there, Charles has got his hand up. Oh, Kenny's now gesticulating. Okay, widen out a little bit here and just truck over a little bit right and give me that angle, right? So that Kenny isn't feel that he has to talk to the camera, then to you, then to you, then to you. So whoever's teaching these people has got to say, listen, this person is not capable of looking into the camera with a warm look, with an authoritative look, and talking, making love to the camera, as they call it. Instead, this person is looking over there and talking over there. And if that's the case, then don't put them on that camera. Get a different angle of them. So they're not feel compelled to, I'm looking at you. I hate that. It just drives me nuts. It's television, man. Keep my attention by looking at me or looking at the person that you're talking to, and let me eavesdrop on that conversation.
Good production notes. I never thought of that. Very interesting.
Thank you. You mentioned Steve Buffery, 38 years at the Toronto Sun. You were at his retirement party, I guess it was, going away party yesterday.
A package was offered and he said, I'll take it.
Good for him. So we bid a fond farewell to Steve from the Toronto Sun. Also, Austin Delaney, 42 years at CFTO in Toronto, Channel 9, Cable 8. 42. He wasn't a sports reporter. I'm sure he did sports stories when they became part of news, but 42 years is pretty darn good. But somebody, I think it was it CTV? Who I'm trying to think who posted it. It might have been the Toronto Sun, but somebody posted something that said, Austin Delaney, 72-year-old Austin Delaney. I'm like, wait a second. No. Somebody didn't do their didn't do their research. Okay. Oh, big surprise. Somebody didn't do their research. Hoo-hoo.
So same deal
Anyway, I
with
thought
him
that
as
was,
with
pretty
Buffrey.
funny.
He got offered a package and he said, "I'll take it." So I think he was waiting for
Yeah.
those rounds of packages that get offered so
Right.
obviously often.
Right. And you did an interview, and I haven't listened to it yet. Don't give too much away. But Michael Tracos, also from Post Media, excellent sports writer. You did a show with him the other day.
Yesterday.
Did he get a package to leave as well? Oh, yesterday.
His story is not as happy as the Buffery and the Delaney story, where they got these packages to retire, if you will. Tracos was just a victim of cost cutting, so I guess he got whatever severance was owed to him. But after almost 20 years at the National Post.
Wow.
Yeah. So the whole story yesterday, he came by, sat here, and we had a pretty good chat. So you can check that out in Toronto Mic'd.
All right. Beautiful. Let's go to tennis now. Back in 2019, you remember this young phenom named Bianca Andreescu thrilled the tennis world by winning Indian Wells, the Rogers Cup, and eventually the U.S. Open over Serena Williams. There was only one way to go down from there. Only one way to go down. Unless you're going to win multiple majors when you're 19, wasn't going to happen. But boy, she fell into the abyss. Injuries, COVID, injuries, more injuries, more injuries, rehab, another new coach, new coach, more injuries. And now she's starting to play better this year, a little bit better, not so much early in the season, but hey, she gets to the round of 16 in Miami, beats 3 pretty good players en route, including a seeded player, Sakari, the number 7 seed. But then after losing the first set in a tiebreaker in which she was bageled by Ekaterina Alexandrova. No, Alexandrova. Alexandra. No, how would you say that, Mike?
You're on your own here, Hebsy.
Alexandrova. That's it. It's Alexandrova. It's Ekaterina Alexandrova. Thank you. After she was bageled by Alexandrova, Bianca was trying to run down a forehand when the ball hit the net cord and she had to change direction quickly, and something happened on her left ankle, fell to the ground, screamed out in pain. And I mean, Mike, a blood-curdling scream. And then yelled out, "I've never felt pain like this before." Which to me is remarkable. If you're in that much pain, how can you mouth the words so articulately and at such a high level, volume level?
But that could be true. That might have been the most pain she's experienced in her life.
But I've never heard anyone yell, not that I've been around that many people that have screamed out in pain in front of me, but that was horrible. Whoa, what happened? What happened? I thought at first she got shot. I thought there was a freaking sniper. What the hell?
Whoa.
She was running, and then she fell. Her knee gave out on her. Jesus Christ, you think of the injuries this girl's had. We've said it before that she's, brittle. She's injury prone, however you want to say it, injury riddled, whatever the case is. Well, guess what? Yeah, she is. She tore 2 ligaments in her ankle. Look. And they were saying she's lucky. It could have been an Achilles tendon, which would be a career ender.
Right.
Wow. And it made me think of a lot of really good athletes, not just tennis players, but really good athletes that had to retire because of injury. I don't have to go over the names, Mike. The famous one, like the Sandy Koufaxes and Barry Sanders. But I mean, I'm thinking of Andrea Jaeger, who was a terrific
Did Barry
tennis
Sanders
player.
retire due to injury?
Yeah, 30 years old, 30.
But I knew he was 30, but I didn't think it was an injury. I thought he just walked away.
Well, it wasn't a specific injury, but he just didn't want to take the punishment anymore. I think he wanted to be able to walk. Now, whether he came out and said, and I don't recall that, the doctors told me that if I keep playing football, I may never walk again, or whatever the case was, man, he took a lot of pounding and a lot of punishment. And what had happened to players like Billy Sims before him, I can name so many of them that, Bo Jackson, whatever, it's a career ender. But also, man, you may never walk again, or you may never be the same. And you're how old? You're in your 20s, your 30s, teens. So Andrea Jaeger was a really good tennis player back in the day. Chris Everett, Martina Navratilova, Tracy Austin, and Andrea Jaeger, she was 14 years old when she was winning. She never won a major. No, did she win a major? No, she didn't win a major, but she came really close. And she was ranked number 2 in the world when she was 17 years old. She retired at the age of 19.
Wow.
Chronic shoulder injury. Chronic. So it's happened before. Injuries take their toll, especially in a sport like tennis where the pounding is incessant, right? I mean, I've played before, and at the end of the game, my arm hurts or my elbow hurts because of the number of times I hit it, and the
tennis elbow.
Yeah, but even more than that, just it goes right up your arm.
Right.
If you're not in great shape or you haven't worked out your arm or whatever, it can do some serious damage. And if you do it for a living, first of all, one of your arms is twice the size of the other one. It's freaky looking. You look at a guy like Nadal, his left arm is like this, his right arm is like a regular arm. Same with Federer, all these guys, right? And women too. So yeah, hopefully.
Do you think Bianca was being a bit of a drama queen? Is that what you're suggesting here? That you think, like, why is she yelling like that? But if she's writhing in pain, she can yell like that, right?
Listen, when she won at Indian Wells, I think it was Angelique Kerber at the net when they shook hands, said, you're such a drama queen. You may recall last year, Mike, at the Rogers Cup, it was pretty, remember they had the medical team come out. She thought she was going to collapse. She took an extra medical timeout in the tiebreaker. I forget her opponent. I really pissed the opponent off. And they gave her, what did they give her? They gave her pills and the blood pressure. They checked her blood pressure and all that. She had to lie down, and another long delay. There's a lot of gamesmanship involved in Bianca Andreescu's game. That's all I'm going to say. A lot of gamesmanship.
Okay.
In golf, the Valero Texas Open is already a mess. Play having been suspended yesterday because of the weather. Canadian Nick Taylor finished at 3 under, 2 off the lead. Corey Connors at 3 under through 9 before play was halted in the first round. A lot of the big names have taken the week off in preparation for the Masters, which begins next Thursday. Ladies are playing the LA Open. Canadian Maud Amy Leblanc got an opening round 4 under par and is tied for 4th. She had 7 birdies to go with 3 bogeys on the day. Brooke Henderson not entered in this event. I mentioned the Rogers Center is going to reopen. Not reopen. Was it closed? No, there weren't. I guess they had no events there. Scheduled probably anyway. But anyway, it's going to reopen April the 11th, as I had mentioned. And Rogers Center was recently ranked 27th out of 30 ballparks in a Sports Illustrated article. 27th out of 30. The only ones behind it, Anaheim, Tampa Bay, and Oakland. Okay, which are all Anaheim. Actually, I think Anaheim might be a little better than Rogers Center, but I expect Rogers Center, they expect it to go up in the rankings, once they unveil this new and improved Rogers Center. We'll have to see. My top 3, not that anyone's asking, are PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Wrigley Field in Chicago, and Camden Yards in Baltimore. Minor league baseball players and Major League Baseball struck a tentative deal the other day on a historic first collective bargaining agreement. Mike, did you know that AAA baseball players used to make $17,500 a year, okay, on average? 17.5. Now that season would be from April to September, that kind of thing. 17.5. Guess what? $35,800 now. AA players are going from $13,800 to $30,250.
Big raise.
High A from $11,000 to $27,300. Single A from $11,000 to $26,200. And the complex league from $4,800. That's all they would pay you to $19,800. Thank God.
What a jump.
Isn't that great? Good for them. Because minor league baseball, man, is, they contracted a lot of teams, and it used to be the lifeblood of baseball. And in a lot of small towns, that's the only entertainment, man. It's the ball team. In related news, a federal judge approved a $185 million settlement in a lawsuit by minor leaguers against Major League Baseball for violating federal minimum wage laws. Okay, so not only did they get a nice big bump, like a 100%, in some cases more than 100% bump in pay, but now there's going to be about 20,000 players who are part of this settlement. They're going to get it's anywhere from $5,000 to $5,500 per player as part of the settlement. It's all right, right? Like you were paying less than minimum wage, you motherfuckers. Pay up.
Right. Good.
So that's good news. And finally, I've got a buddy from New York City, big sports fan, hardcore fan of the Giants, the Knicks, the Rangers, and the Yankees. But he also wants to watch, shows on Apple TV, like, I don't know.
Ted Lasso.
Let's say Ted Lasso. And, he wants to watch, shows on Netflix, like I don't know, Full
The
Swing,
Crown. Okay.
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive.
It's a sports show, Mike. It's a sports show.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
The Crown's not a sports show. Okay.
No, The Crown's not. Although I do like The Crown. It's not a
There's some
sports show.
polo in there.
Yeah. And by the way, who's the queen this week on The Crown this season? Who's playing the part of the queen? Anyway, if you add it all up, okay. First of all, if he wants to get all the over-the-air networks because he's a cord cutter, it's $876 a year for YouTube TV.
Wow.
It's like 70 a month, but you get every network. You get all the network sports. You get everything, NFL, you get Fox, NBC, ABC, all that, right?
Yay.
And all the Golf Channel and the whole deal like that. You got to pay. So that's $876 a year. The Yes Network is for the Yankees, $200 a year. MSG Network is Rangers, Knicks, right? The games that aren't on network television, $310 a year. Apple TV is $70 a year. Netflix is $240 a year. So that's $1,700 a year. US, okay. And he's complaining. So it's about $150 a month, and he's complaining. I'm thinking $150 a month, and I can watch everything, like everything, everything.
Right.
That's not bad, Mike. That's not that bad.
Americans only, right? That YouTube thing you're talking about. We can't do that in Canada, right? That YouTube thing you're talking about.
YouTube TV. I've never tried it before.
I feel like it might be an American thing.
Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we be able to get? Why not? Why not? $75 a month. Why would
I
it be
feel like there's some
restricted to-
licensing once you cross you got to get it like a VPN.
But it's streaming. But
yeah, I know.
isn't it streaming?
Still,
Anyway,
whoever has the
I haven't
rights, it
tried.
doesn't
If anyone knows, let us know.
matter.
Anyway, $1,700 a year, $150 a month to get everything. Sign me up.
Okay.
Sign me up.
Sold.
And that's it for episode 327 of Hebsy on Sports. Oh, we ran late today, but it's okay because there was lots of good stuff to talk about. Thanks to Toronto Mike, as always, for production and inspiration. Hit him up at Toronto Mike and listen to his excellent interview show. Thanks for allowing us into your headspace. We're back with another episode next week. Tell your friends, tell your family. Hebsy on Sports. We're here every Friday. Until then, so long for now.